Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X, all over social media platforms. Remember, we're also on TV now. Tune into KP Media at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch a moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, we have a great show lined up for you. As usual, a mix of celebrities, impressive citizens, VIPs, and tons of fun. In our influencer segment, we're featuring Unique International. He's a four-time platinum recording artist, lyricist, and influencer with over 1.5 million followers. You can check him out on the gram at Unique INT's World, chatting all things social media, music, his new single, and how it all flows together. He'll be on in just a little bit. On My Digital World, we have returning contributor Shahal Khan. Shahal is CEO of Burkhan World and founder of Tempus Network. His good friend Paul Roy is going to be joining us. He's founder and CEO of Galaxy Racer. We're going to be chatting all things esports, gaming, and cryptocurrency. On the Scandal segment, we are featuring returning contributor Imran Ansari of ABK Law. We're going to be chatting about the ongoing legal issues Travis Scott is facing with the Astroworld fiasco. Could Travis Scott be facing criminal charges? We're also chatting all things Britney Spears and how she finally got freed and what comes next for her. And of course, since it's National Adoption Month, we're featuring fellow Orphan Myth ambassador Rob Scheer and his adopted son, Alex Scheer. Rob is one of the founder of Comfort Cases and a partner to Orphan Myth. Now, before I bring on Unique International in the influencer segment, I came across an article that I wanted to share that I've always pointed to not me liking fraternities for obvious reasons. But for now, I am genuinely disgusted by them after learning about a practice called hogging. Now, evidently, the practice is not anything new, and the term has been in the Urban Dictionary for nearly 2 decades. According to the website, hogging is basically when groups of men compete to have sex with the fattest woman at a bar or party. And apparently in 2018, it happened at Cornell University. According to Slate, people reported the Zeta Beta 2 fraternity for having what they called a pig roast, where members of the house competed to sleep with women they considered overweight. Sometimes they will then, in the completion of having sex with her, have the entire group of men come barging in the room and they'll start oinking and harassing the woman until she leaves the space. How sick is that? Either way, that's something to look out for and make sure your kids are not partaking in, dear friends. We'll be right back with Unique International. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go to get your spin on. Go to get your spa on. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go for the stakes and the steak. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in a few, we have our influencers segment, and we are featuring Unique International. He's a 4-time platinum recording artist, lyricist, and influencer with over 1.5 million followers. He is just getting checked into our broadcast room, and as he gets settled, we're going to chat social media and music. As many artists know, social media is key to connect with followers on a pseudo-personal level and a powerful avenue for sharing art, ideas, and appreciation to the fans who follow you. This is especially true in the music industry, a field with acutely involved, passionate, and engaged fan bases due to the very product it's promoting, music. Tapping into these massive and passionate fan-based platforms is how many artists and musicians go from run-of-the-mill to skyrocketing fame, sometimes quite literally overnight. Whether you like it or not, a strong social media presence is critical to succeed as a musician in today's world, providing not only a gateway to connect with fans, but also elevated access to major players in the industry who are looking for the next big thing. Now, artists who are real with their followers and provide them with a level of transparency and trust, 2 tenets of human character that attract people and keep them coming back for more, are the artists who stand the test of time. Musicians with strong social media accounts post their work, but also show their followers their personal side, the emotional parts of their life they know will resonate with fans, giving them an outlet where they can connect with each other and share their common interests and ideas inspires more loyalty because connectivity and companionship is what every person longs for. Going back to the basics of human psychology. Now, in the digital age, the artists who tend to rise to the occasion tend to engage with fans, respond to questions on social media, and are present to where people can communicate with them. Those are the ones that trends best. Now, it feels like a treasure stumbling upon a potential next great star, which makes listeners today feel like part of the discovery process, which in on its own has also shaped the global market in the industry. The global music industry is something that evokes emotion to the average person. Welcoming to the show is Joseph Foster, otherwise known as Unique International. He's an international pop singer infused with a splash of R&B, four-time platinum producer, songwriter, and brand ambassador. Welcome to the show, superstar.
What's up? What's up? I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here, for real.
You are one quite talented individual. Now, let's find out how I want you to tell our listeners. Let's walk them through the very struggles, because I know that you come from humble beginnings, the very struggles that helped shape you into the success that you are today.
Yeah, there's I mean, there's been a lot that's been going on in my life. I mean, I survived pretty much pneumonia. It was in my system for like 2 years, and I just got over it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to sing again. And it looks like I'm singing again. So,
and to be clear, it was non-COVID related pneumonia.
No COVID. No COVID at all.
So you've recovered from pneumonia. You've gotten your voice back. Let's start from the top. You're currently in your hometown of Portland, Oregon. You're a recording artist. You're signed to Sony. You've been ghostwriting and producing music for all the greats. Tell me about who you've worked with and how long you have been at this.
Definitely. Soulja Boy, I've been with that company for now about 4 years. Besides that, I've done stuff with Juice WRLD before he died, God rest his soul. Little Baby, his team, we worked together for now 2 years. Kevin Gates, I just did a song with his artist. His name is Kane. And I mean, it's so many artists that like sometimes I just forget. It's a lot. I've wrote for a lot of people, definitely.
And not only have you written for a lot of people, but you now are a recording artist. You're performing, you're in front of the camera, you have a huge fan base. How has music shaped you?
Music is what actually got me through life. Like I had a really tough life, and music, I found that it just basically gives me more power to myself. So for me, music is my blood. Like I breathe it, I see it, and it's a part of my life.
I love that about you. We had a little conversation not long ago, and we kind of got to know each other. And the one thing that you said to me is that exactly that you're so passionate about music in general, writing music, everything involving and revolving around music, that you have built a life for yourself in front of the camera and also behind the camera, in terms of in front of the scenes and behind the scenes, so to speak. And you've worked with some of the most incredible artists that we hear today. Can you walk us through the most humbling experience you've had in the industry? Because I know you're all about helping other artists make it. And obviously you've had a great deal of help to get to where you are today. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So basically, when it comes to me, I like to take an artist that is nobody, but has a lot of talent. And a lot of people don't believe in those type of artists anymore because there's so many artists trying to do it. And I understand that too. But when an artist really has a lot of talent, they need to be showcased. So what I do is I help them with their marketing. I help them with their branding. I help them actually get what they're trying to get out. I make their music not just good, but I'll remix it and make it sound right. So I produce for a lot of independent artists because it helps them understand how to do things. I help them register their music right. A lot of people don't know how to register their music right, and I do that.
So you're full service. So not only are you a recording artist, but now you're an entrepreneur. You have about 1.5 million followers that are very devoted, very loyal to you. You have great engagement rate, and you have now taken the next step of really helping others and help others pave their own way, so to speak. How do you think social media affects your livelihood?
I'll say this. On average, the first thing we all do is we wake up and we check our phones. So checking our phones is a part of life now. Like, you just wake up, oh, dang, who hit me up? Who sent me a text? Or, you know, it's just a part of us. So for social media, really, actually, it's made my life actually pretty good, because the old way is you can meet people and you can talk to them, but now, you know, with COVID, you know, you got to wear a mask. You can't really conversate. Yeah.
So you're definitely very engaged with your fans on social media. Now you're all about dropping singles because you feel that that's the best way to really target your audience versus, you know, overloading them, so to speak. What single are we waiting to hear next from you?
I'm so excited about this single. I think it's actually my best record. It's called Keep Living, and it'll be out on the 5th everywhere, on all platforms, everywhere. This single is so powerful that it has subliminals in there that's going to make you feel uplifted about your own life.
Love it. Love it. So we're definitely going to be checking that out. For those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking to Unique International. You guys definitely have to check him out on his IG page. Unique spelled UNEEKINTS World, Unique International's World, essentially. And it's a great page to land on because there's a lot to look at. Now, let's do a quick, I'm going to ask you 10 questions really fast. You can't skip a beat. You have to answer them rapid fire without really thinking of the answer. Okay, here goes. You ready?
All right. Yep.
East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast.
Summertime or winter?
Winter.
Soccer or football?
Soccer.
Tomato or tomato?
Tomato.
Only one person can save your life. Trump or Biden?
Oh man, I don't know. I'd rather just die. I don't know.
I'd rather just die. That's the best answer. Weed or blow?
Yeah, weed.
Die a natural death or choose body freezing to be woken up 30 years later?
I'll take that.
That one. Live in space or under the ocean?
Under the ocean.
Religious or spiritual?
Spiritual.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
What's a better holiday, 4th of July or Christmas?
Christmas.
There you go. All right. Good job. Now we got to know you in rapid fire, 10 questions. Okay, cool. Listen, there's so much cool stuff going on. I definitely want to have you come back on again. We have about a minute and a half left. What's your message to the world? What advice do you have to recording artists out there who are trying, who are out there hustling, trying to, get their foot in the door? Give me some advice for them.
Simple. You got to believe in yourself for people to believe in you. And then on top of that, you got to go get it for yourself. You got to tell people what you want. That's the most important thing.
That's you go. You said it. Amen, brother. You got it. Well, listen, the interesting similarity between music and social media is that they both revolve around the common notion of human connection. Music connects people, and social media is inherently the perfect vehicle for the spread of love for music and the opportunity to discover new sounds. And in this age of going viral, all it really takes is one song to make you become really famous. Okay, so he's living proof of that. Definitely check him out on his social media platform. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Unique International. It was awesome talking to you.
Definitely. I look forward to seeing you guys again, for sure.
You got it. Guys, check him out on the gram at Unique INTS World. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. That was our influencer segment. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few minutes, we have My Digital World with returning contributor Shahal Khan, CEO of Burkhan World and founder of Tempus Network, and his good friend joining him today, Paul Roy, CEO and founder of Galaxy Racer. Today, we're going to be chatting esports, gaming, and all the good things involving them. Now, let's review. Organized video gaming events or tournaments that culminate in championships at regional and international level, in which professional and amateur players compete against one another, are all the rage. And the rapidly growing phenomenon surrounding esports, otherwise known as electronic sports, continues to gather steam as the intersection of gaming and sports offers an innovative wave of branding opportunities, engaging content, and activations for millions across the world. Now, Galaxy Racer launched back in 2019 and has become one of the biggest esports gaming and lifestyle organizations globally, with their biggest esports presence in the United Arab Emirates, spread across a diverse international roster of 11 teams, boasting professionals from over 20 plus countries. Galaxy Racer seems to be the center hub for all gamers. Now, the Galaxy Racer team has already established top global ranking status in the biggest games, including CSGO, League of Legends, Dota 2, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, and Rocket, to name a few. Now, the organization prides itself on having 5 separate business offerings, and this is a little bit different than your regular structure. They have esports teams, content creators, tournament management, merchandising and lifestyle, and GXR Records, a newly established record label. They are clearly on the cusp of something revolutionary. The organization now carries over 100 content creators with a total reach of over 370 million followers across all platforms, and more than, are you ready? 2 billion views. Now, for the record, esports have been a big deal for quite a while. It's a giant industry estimated to be worth somewhere in the ballpark of 1.8 billion by 2022. It's attracting the largest audience on the planet, already over 600 million people. Forbes reports that esports pro athletes have been growing more than 40% annually every year since 1998. Then you have the LA Times saying 8 million people log on every day to take part. And yet for some of us, it still feels somewhat foreign, an underground culture, so to speak. But here to break it all down are my experts at hand. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you, Zen.
Thanks, Zen. Thanks for having us.
Paul, thank you for joining us. Now, while many industries suffered greatly under the strain of the global pandemic, esports was one of the few that was able to flourish. And the level of investment and deal activity in esports definitely increased as a result of the health crisis. How are gamers earning money under the new platforms that exist?
So to an extent, Zen, during the COVID period, obviously the one thing that went down was having live events and having large audiences tune in. But the beauty about the fact that this is electronic and is run on servers remotely means that you can actually run tournaments anywhere in the world. So a lot of the tournament people had to adapt. They started running regional tournaments as opposed to international tournaments. And when everything else shut down, sports is a form of entertainment, right? Any kind of sports. That's why people watch it. And when regular sports such as soccer and cricket and everything else started shutting down, the regular sports fans had to turn to something else. And the only thing that was running at that point of time was esports, because they could still continue to run in certain formats. And, there's an entirely new fan base that was just created. So, we had different projections over the years in terms of the growth that esports would have, in terms of audience and reach. And I think during the pandemic, it probably blew past all numbers by over 100%.
Yeah. Well, we're at a very special time because we've been doing these segments regularly on My Digital World, and we cover a lot. And Shahal and I are always talking about the intersection of gaming, esports, cryptocurrency. So I'm going to show this back to you, Shahal. Let's chat about the future of esports and fan engagement. As esports grow in popularity, this will attract more clubs, sponsors, and players to basically participate. Games such as Fortnite and League of Legends have already reached the stellar level of this, and other games will follow specifically on this path, creating their own global leagues. And at this point right now, there's prejudices and misunderstandings about gaming and esports. And there's going to be a lot of barriers that we're going to cross. What kind of opportunity, Shahal, do you think that are going to be existing? And what do you think the divisions between sports and esports are going to, what is that division going to entail? Is it going to become more blurred in the future? Is this the wave of the future?
I think based on everything I've seen Paul and Galaxy Racer do, you have to look at media as a whole in engagement with the audience. That means content production. That means new form of games that are being produced around the esports teams. Also new platforms that are being produced where people that are actually engaging and participating as an audience now can have direct relationships and participation with the players, but also with the actual content itself. And there's a lot of different digital platforms, including cryptocurrencies, NFTs, that allow people to participate more fully, actually be able to help create new content and have an interactive sense with the actual platform itself. So in essence, they're just not an audience. They actually are able to participate, and they're also able to possibly even earn through their engagement. And I think that is really going to be a game changer. And I think Paul's creating the perfect platform for that, where you have all of that culminating together.
Agreed. I mean, Paul, what you're doing is on the cusp of not just revolutionary, but you really are adhering to the digital process in every way. Now, given the immense popularity of gaming and esports across the world, official esports tournaments are able to offer huge jackpots for basically the best of the players in the world. And the cumulative prize pool for global Counter-Strike, global offensive tournaments in the first half of 2021 stood at almost $8 million, with total esports prize pools projected to grow even further in the coming years. How do you feel that cryptocurrency is going to be leveraged in esports and gaming?
Well, it's pretty simple, actually. The biggest prize pool that was held this year was for a game called Dota 2. So there's something called the International. And the Dota 2 prize pool has been growing year on year. And this year, actually, it was the highest one ever paid out, which was $41 million. And the winning team walked away with $18 million.
Wow.
Now, Shahal mentioned something a few minutes ago about, fan tokens and fan engagement. So how the prize pool works is the publisher of the game only seeds $1 million. The 40 million additional is donated by the fans, right? So you've already got fans contributing. So it's millions and millions and millions of fans around the world contributing everything from $5 to $10 to $20 in microtransactions just to see the spot getting larger and larger. Right. So when you have a platform one day that could be used via cryptocurrencies or tokens and all that, it's a natural evolution. It's not something that's alien to the gaming world. Let's put it to you that way.
Clearly not. And I mean, as a result of the increasing money in the market that we're seeing, I mean, the top players in the world are able to now make a living from video games, something which would have been almost unthinkable in past decades. So yes, I mean, you're headed in the right direction. Shahal, I want to touch on something that you said earlier when we went back to how this is really revolutionizing the way third world countries are now interacting with games and gamers and esports. Now, the global crypto adoption has taken off in the last year. We're up 881%, with Vietnam, India, and Pakistan firmly in the lead. And this is data directly off of chain analysis. Now, Burkhan's crypto arm is Tempus. And knowing that there are about 1.7 billion people that are considered unbanked, however, we have 48% of the global population having a smartphone, and that percentage, in theory, have access to the internet and therefore cryptocurrencies. What is the bigger vision, for instance, Tempus and even Galaxy Racer have, given this very fact?
Yeah. So, I mean, as Paul said before, the actual population of people, or I think Zen, you had mentioned it, the 2 billion views of Galaxy Racer. If you look at just the people watching these games, and if they could actually be compensated for their engagement, which means if they can tweet about, for example, a player or a brand, which they usually do anyway, and if that could be followed on their smartphone and they could be compensated directly for that participation, for their data that they're creating, rather than that going onto a social media platform, that now releases income to people that really don't have a source of income that could be augmented in and enough sort of capacity that they could actually go and start becoming bankable. So for me as an economist, I was looking at the combination of this amazing platform that Paul has built and a possibility in the future where the people that are actually watching these games and participating in these games that want to participate but don't have the capital to do so, but actually earn some capital by participation, and then utilize that to create savings accounts on a decentralized platform, and then start to become a part of the economy as well. And I think that'll be revolutionary in terms of a possible new income creation mechanism.
Without a doubt, you're giving power to the people in the most natural and organic way possible. People now being compensated to do what they love, having a means in the digital process, and like you said, you're taking the thought process of, here you go. Now you're in control, and everybody loves that. I'm going to go back to Paul. Paul, Galaxy Racer prides itself on having these 5 separate business offerings. We talked about esports. You have content creators, tournament management, the merchandising and lifestyle, and now you have the GXR records. Where, out of all of these different areas, which area is really key to igniting the rest of them, so to speak? Is it the gaming, or is it the tournament management?
Neither. I think it's our content creation. So our content creators, actually, it's a lot more than 370 million. Just about a week ago, we've crossed the 500 million mark. So we've got about 500 million people following us across all social platforms and engaging with us on a monthly basis, right? And when we got into this business, we were very clear. We didn't want to be in teams or tournaments or just owning a single platform, which the majority of everybody else does. We go into businesses looking to own ecosystems. So there's an esports ecosystem which goes everywhere from sports to engaging content to products that you build with the brands that you create to engaging with your fans, and we wanted to own the entire ecosystem. And then through that ecosystem, we're like, okay, we have the audience, we've got the viewership. Can we look at launching new things? So the record label was one of our first experiments. We're like, look, here's an example. I have a 22-year-old kid who plays Counter-Strike, right? And and the same 22-year-old kid also listens to hip hop. But if you go into YouTube, you don't find any content where the hip hop artist is engaging with Counter-Strike, but the audience is exactly the same. So we said, okay, we've got these huge creators out there. We've got this audience. Can we go and find artists that are in that genre, and can we blow them up? And the answer is yes, we could. So we took, upcoming artists who are super talented and hit all the right ticks, and pretty much drove their social from 50,000 to over 1.5 million followers, drove their viewership up, drove their music video views from under, I think so one of them was less than 100K, and then drove to over 75 million. So when you've got that audience firepower like we have, you can pretty much do anything and push anything towards that.
It's beautiful. It's basically, you know, the equivalent of having influencers on social media really hype something up and for it to go viral. And then, of course, as we know, with over 1 billion active social media users that are engaging a day, everything kind of, it spreads like wildfire, so to speak. But guys, we've run out of time. I want to say thank you for coming on, because you guys always give me the most interesting, valuable content when it comes to anything digital. So thank you, Paul. Guys, you have to check out galaxyracer.gg, and on the gram, they're at galaxyracer.dxb. Paul, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Shahal, of course, it's always a pleasure. I'm going to probably be seeing you in just a few weeks again. Definitely check out a Burkhan World Project and Tempus Network all over the internet, all over social media. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this. That was My Digital World, sponsored by Tempus Network.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Aikido Pharma, an early-stage pharmaceutical company developing innovative drugs for improving anti-cancer and antiviral therapies. Traded on the NASDAQ under ticker AIKI. They have first-in-class partnerships with leading medical universities like the University of Maryland and the University of Texas. To learn more, go to www.aikidopharma.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, coming on in just a few, we have Alex and Rob Scheer, a father-son pioneer in making a difference. Today, we are chatting Orphan Myth, their unique story, and how Comfort Cases is changing the world. You have to check them out at comfortcases.org. Now, back in April of this year, Tiffany Haddish and a number of notable celebrities teamed up to support children globally as part of Orphan Myth's initiative. I'm a proud ambassador to this organization, founded by my dear friend Lindsay. Now, Orphan Myth's 100% participation campaign aims to offer support for the world's most vulnerable children. Other notable celebrities involved in the campaign included Ben Higgins from The Bachelor, Lyric Ross from This Is Us, Ryder Allen from Palmer, and Nelson Mandela's grandson, Kwaku Mandela, who also happens to be a dear friend of mine. Mega influencers like Armand Perry and Rudy Bundini also stepped up to the plate. The 2-week campaign back in April was supported by 30+ nonprofit organizations and several celebrity ambassadors, focused on the collective commitment to one big idea, that it's going to take 100% of us to get 100% of children into a safe and loving family. Children are often separated from their families because of poverty. An estimated 80% of children in orphanages have at least one living parent. And with the right support, many could be reunited with their families. Now, this pandemic has genuinely affected everyone, and for some kids has left them without a parent. Somewhere between 37,000 and 45,000 children lost a parent to COVID-19. This caused a rise in orphaning from 18 to 20%. With more than 420,000 kids in the foster care system, only about 100,000 are awaiting for their new home. Think about this one. The median age for kids in the foster system is 6.5. About 20,000 youths age out of the foster system just to go into adulthood with no earnings and sometimes even homelessness. And as an ambassador to this amazing organization, I say, let's fund the families, not the orphanages. Joining me now is Rob Scheer, founder of Comfort Cases and the author of A Forever Family, Fostering Change One Child at a Time. Now, Rob's memoir tells the inspiring story of his journey from foster care to foster parent and his drive to rebuild this broken system. His son Alex also joins him today very proudly, who he recently adopted. And after Rob pulled him out of a lifetime of being in the foster care system, their story had a beautiful silver lining at the end. The rest is history. Here to tell their story directly to us are Rob and Alex Scheer. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us.
I am so happy that you were able to join me today. I first met you and your son back at the Orphan Myth fundraiser. So it's nice to have you on. Rob, let's get down to it here. Walk me through your overall story in foster care and how it inspired Comfort Cases.
Yeah, well, I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and I ended up in the system at the age of 12 carrying a trash bag. I will never forget that first night, how scared and how I couldn't believe that this was my life. But I think the most surprising part is that I was part of the statistics of those 20 to 30,000. When I turned 18, I was a senior in high school, and I actually became homeless. And I lived on the streets my entire senior year of high school. And I was supposed to be the statistic. You know, we have see that less than 54% of kids in foster care actually graduate from high school, and only 3% get a college education. And I was on that path that I was going to be one of those kids. But instead, I joined the United States Navy. I became a very successful businessman, and I never looked back until 13 years ago when 4 of my 5 children arrived in my home from foster care carrying a trash bag. I knew at that moment that as a leader, and by the way, we're all leaders, that we had to make change and we had to make sure that children in the system are given hope and dignity. You know, we started comfort cases, wanting to give a child when they enter an overnight bag. But little did I know that 2 years ago, the most amazing thing would happen. I'd meet my son, Alex. I was actually giving a speech at a local high school and I met him. And I wasn't thinking about being a dad again and having any more kids. My husband and I already had 4 kids at that time. But I just saw Alex. And when I saw Alex, I saw myself. I saw myself as a boy who was 18 years old, just like Alex was, that had been in the system and that was going to age out. And he was probably going to be a statistic. And I couldn't let that happen. So about 3 months after meeting Alex, I asked him to move home.
That's so beautiful. Congratulations. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
That is quite the story. So tell me the first thought that went through your mind when you saw Rob, and what drew you to him?
Mainly his story. I connected with it so much that afterwards I just had to meet him.
And tell me about your upbringing. Now, you spent your almost what sounds like your entire life in the foster care system. Do you have any brothers or sisters that you know of?
I do. I entered the system at 17, actually.
Got it.
And I do have a brother and a sister. They never ended in the system, though. And
when you were the first time that you got to your foster home, or you entered into the group home, were you obviously, like your dad, that was a feeling of fright and being alone? But what's the one thing that most people don't know about orphans? Once you get there and once you live in the system and you're a part of it, what's something that you want to share with everybody that nobody would really know unless they've lived it?
I don't know. I mean, just who you are as a person,
Were you ever afraid?
I'm sure there were nights that I was.
And what did you ever see yourself coming out of it in a family, or in your mind this was it and you were going to eventually age out of it?
Yeah, I didn't see myself in a family much.
So you met your dad and everything changed, and obviously he inspired you. What's your relationship like with your brothers and sisters currently at home?
It's a good relationship. I mean, I'm the oldest, so try to be that example for them.
You know, the greatest part about it is that, we do have 4 other children. And I will never forget the very first time that Alex got to meet our other kids. And after that night, Alex had gone back to his foster home. And my kids were like, "Dad, we have to do something for Alex." And I said, "I know, I just don't know what." And one of my sons said, "Dad, he has to come home." So automatically they had felt this connection. And to see them now, to see my kids and my husband and I with Alex, it was like Alex has always been there. And I say this quite often to people. I only have one regret, only one. And that is that I didn't get to walk Alex into kindergarten holding his hand. But I've got to see him graduate from high school. He's now a sophomore in college. He is the most amazing older brother. And this is National Adoption Awareness Month. Most people don't realize that this month alone, more kids in foster care get adopted than any other day of the year. And we need to make sure that we talk about the 100,000 children that are like Alex, that are sitting in foster care because of choices other people made. And if we don't have these conversations, they're going to end up on the street. And I will tell you, if we don't take care of them today, you're going to take care of them tomorrow, because we all know that the statistics show us that kids in the system go from the system to the penitentiary. 80% of our prison inmates have either been in foster care or touched by foster care. We've made some mistakes and we have to fix them. And I just hope that we can do that one child at a time.
And doing that one child at a time and one comfort case at a time is exactly the vision that you had of assembling these backpacks filled with comfort and personal care items to deliver to local DCFs. You know, and I know I've read that you had a packing party back in December, and it kind of felt very authentic to get involved and really help. So I commend you for what you do, because comfort cases, I mean, has been featured everywhere, and you guys are in the UK now. So it's global. You've gone to the next level. So congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. You know, we have actually delivered over 150,000 comfort cases to all 50 states, DC, Puerto Rico. And yes, during the height of the pandemic, we actually opened up a center in the United Kingdom where we have over 80,000 children in foster care that are treated just like the kids here in our country. You know, as the time runs up, I want to let you know something. People ask me all the time, why do we do this? Kids all over the country who I've met who have opened up a comfort case and pulled out their brand new pair of pajamas, their brand new book, their toothbrush, their toothpaste. They ask me, why would someone do this? I want all of you to know, you do not have to know someone to love someone. And we must remember that. We do not have to know someone to love someone. And we need to love these children, because at the end of the day, they don't belong to you. They don't belong to me, but they belong to us.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And those are very wise words, my friend. Alex, you are in great hands. I can't thank you both for joining us and telling me your story. It was quite the amazing interview having both of you here, because this is the type of story that you want to set a precedence. There are families that can make a difference. And Rob, that's exactly what you and your husband are doing. So congrats.
Thank you.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Do check out comfort cases. They're all over the gram and online, comfortcases.org. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few, we have the Scandals segment with Imran Ansari of Idala Bertuna Commons, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. We're going to be chatting about the ongoing legal issues resulting from Travis Scott's Astroworld debts. We'll also be following up on Britney and how she finally got freed and what comes next for her. Imran is getting settled into our broadcast room, ready to fill us in. And in the meantime, let's recap some basics regarding these scandals. Travis Scott could be, in fact, facing criminal charges. Prosecutors will consider whether he was aware of the cries for help. Apparently, he could face several criminal charges. That Houston music festival that left 10 people dead, including a 9-year-old boy, and injured hundreds of other concert goers, is quite the fiasco. The possibility of criminal charges could include involuntary manslaughter, assault, or disorderly conduct for inciting a riot. All familiar words with that, right? The Trump riot, we were all familiar with what that meant. Travis also faces separate legal liability as a producer of the show. And I note the comparisons to the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of actor-producer Alec Baldwin's indie western Rust this very last month. Similar to the Alec Baldwin case, we have Travis Scott as the performer having liability, as well as Travis Scott, the producer, with separate liability. And on the Britney Spears case, the rainbow has finally come out. A judge freed Britney Spears from the conservatorship that controlled her life and money for nearly 14 years. Calls for calls from her and her fans for the hashtag Free Britney actually worked. Where does it all stand now? Well, Imran is right here to fill us in. Welcome to the Scandal segment, my dear friend.
Thanks for having me, Zen. Always great being on with you.
Okay, let's jump right into it here. Travis Scott. So one factor, Imran, that will likely work against him may be his own checkered past. Travis Scott has a prior history of problems at performances leading to injury. Reminder, 2015, he pleaded guilty to reckless conduct for encouraging people at a Chicago summer concert to climb over barriers. 3 years later, he pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct for riling up an Arkansas crowd, and 3 concertgoers were injured during a stampede at a 2019 festival where he performed again. Will this be an issue for him?
Yeah, Zen, we are now at 10 tragic deaths, the latest being 9-year-old Ezra Blount. And we already know that his family has filed a lawsuit. There are already over 100 lawsuits stemming from the Astroworld tragedy. And what does that mean for Travis Scott, his companies, and those around him who were involved in this? Well, it means possible civil liability. And as you mentioned, Zen, possible criminal liability. And yes, the prior incidents and his past regarding his conduct at concerts may be a factor. I would imagine that when these lawsuits are filed, that those complaints will mention the prior incidents that involve Travis Scott and injuries and incidents at his concerts. I think that's going to be a factor in these lawsuits. And it means possible liability on the civil and criminal side. We're going to see how the investigations continue in this, but it's a real tragedy, Zen, all around.
A total tragedy. I mean, we just saw something tragic happen last month on that Rust film set. But let's go back to the legal defense in this particular Travis Scott situation. The legal defense team is going to point to when he stopped the music to let first responders get to certain people, but that would only help his liability as a performer. So how does he get off the hook here, or doesn't he?
Well, Zen, they're going to be looking at the timeline of events here. When did he stop the music? Was he aware that this surge of crowd was pushing forward and people were getting seriously hurt and dying? And was he aware and he kept going with the concert? That's going to be the question here that's presented to determine the liability of Travis Scott, his production companies, and those around him, and those who produced and put on this concert.
And let's piggyback on those who produced and put on this concert. Live Nation and the Texas promoter Score More Shows could also face criminal charges because Live Nation's track record could also work against them here. From what I've been reading, an investigation by the Houston Chronicle found records showing at least 750 people have been injured and 200 people have died at Live Nation events in the past 15 years. And since 2016, the company has paid out millions of dollars, Imran, in settlements after these tragedies. So, you know, that's something else to consider as well, I would think.
Absolutely, Zen. Live Nation, their prior history in terms of prior lawsuits, how that will factor in this? Well, it's going to see, well, you are aware that concerts can present themselves as being dangerous places. And at Astroworld, did you put the necessary safeguards in place to address any foreseeable possible injuries, deaths, and incidents like here? And we're going to see lawsuits, and Live Nation will undoubtedly be a possible and is a defendant in those lawsuits.
I mean, this is security 101. It's so predictable that there was going to be a frenzied surge at some point because you can predict it, you can prevent it. And we know for a fact that the world's largest concert promotion company had 50,000 young people set to attend a high energy event during a time period that everyone's energy has been pent up in a pandemic. I mean, this was completely reckless. But here's the worst part. We have about 3 minutes left because I want to get the Britney in. The payout could be limited, Imran. NRG Park has an insurance policy totaling only $26 million for events, nowhere near the hundreds of millions that victims and survivors are likely to claim. And these civil lawsuits are likely to last years, and in my opinion, likely to result not in full compensation and justice. What do you say to that?
Yeah, Zen, I think that there's going to be some sort of payout or settlement program that is going to be addressed by the insurance company, Insuring Energy, and the other defendants. And they're going to be going into mediations. They're going to be going into settlement talks with all these people. And they're going to carve out certain amounts of money based on the injury and or death to try to compensate these people. Of course, you cannot compensate a family when they have lost a loved one. But we're going to see that play out.
We're going to see that play out. And before we move on to Britney, this is also very important. You know, giving Travis Scott's history of inciting and encouraging dangerous behavior at concerts, this is the guy who said it's not a show until someone passes out. So let's just keep that in mind. Let's move on to Britney. So with a fortune of nearly $60 million comes a lot of secrecy, and the court very closely guarded the inner workings of her conservatorship. Now she's been freed. What's next for her?
Right, Zen. Hashtag free Britney now is hashtag Britney is free, because the conservatorship is now over. But it doesn't mean the legal battles will not continue. We know that her attorneys are looking at her father, Jamie Spears, looking to depose him, looking at her former business managers about the finances here. I expect the legal battles will continue. But for now, Britney is free, and she's back in control of her life and her finances and her career.
Absolutely. The judge sort of hung her hat on terminating the case on the fact that this was a voluntary conservatorship in the first place. And there had never been any sort of even psychiatric evaluation of Britney to find that she lacked capacity. So there's so much going on, but I'm glad it's over. And right now, the timeline of Britney Spears' conservatorship is literally come to an end. But you and I are going to continue to cover this because, like you said, there's so much going on behind the scenes that in order to unravel 14 years of what seems to have been a huge mess for her and her family is now it's going to likely take quite some time to settle up. But thank you for coming and piping into the scandal segment, Imran. You are one of the best, and you are one of the most popular here.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you for having me, as always.
You got it. You got it. Guys, that's Imran Ansari of ABK Law. You can check him out on Court TV, Law and Crime Network. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go to get your spin on. Go to get your spa on. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub. And in your drink. Go for the stakes. And the steak. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. That's the end of our date. Remember to join me right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710wr.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember, we're on TV now. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android. Tune in and watch A Moment of Zen live on the Impact Channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All episodes are also available on demand. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Remember to tune back in next Saturday night at 9 p.m. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.